I do want to talk about someone and others that were not on the stage last night, and that is obviously the front runner, far and away, former President Donald Trump. And he skipped out on this debate. He ended up having a rally in Michigan where there are auto workers on strike. What do you make about that decision, and how do you think the dynamic changed in the debate knowing he wasn't there?
Well, I thought you were going to talk about Asa Hutchinson, who
He's
also
next.
wasn't on.
Yes,
Yeah, he wasn't
he's next
on.
on my list. Don't you worry.
Uh, yeah, I think that Trump. Look, you can look at it as a strategic point. Trump made the right strategic decision not to appear because uh, he's way ahead. He could only make additional mistakes. He attracts a lot of viewers. He would attract them, and some people would be looking at other candidates and saying, "Gee, I kind of like Nikki, or I kind of like Vivek, or I kind of like DeSantis, or whoever." So that was the right strategic decision. Uh, and I think it will be harder to do that if he gets down to one opponent, right, in the Republican debates. But so far, he hasn't done that. Now, you talked about the auto strike. Let's talk about that for a moment. My opinion about the auto strike is that that when President Biden went there, it was like that old joke of the guy who kills his parents and then throws himself on the mercy of the court as an orphan. Um, and almost all the problems that the auto workers are striking about were caused by Don, by Joe Biden's policies. Okay, the inflation, the green energy. It takes between a half and two-thirds as many hours for a worker to make an electric car as it does to make an internal combustion car. The auto companies are losing buckets of money on them. The only one that's making any money is Tesla on electric vehicles. And so the auto companies are very uncertain what kind of future they will have. They've made a lot of money in the last couple of years, but they face a very uncertain future. And what the auto workers are asking for is ginormous amounts of money, and they want it, of course, going forward in a future that they don't know. Now, what about Donald Trump? Donald Trump, the most important thing to understand about Trump is that he has completed a transformation of the Republican Party's voter base. It is essentially now the people who voted for Harry Truman, their grandchildren, right? If you look at the people who were Democrats, blue collar workers in the 1950s, 1940s, those people were all Democrats, right? The only remnant of them that's left as Democrats are the union leaders, not the union workers, but the union leaders. And the workers in Ohio. Look at what's happened in West Virginia, right? It was an all Democratic state. Now it's all Republican. The only Democrat left as statewide office is Joe Manchin, and he faces real problems. And you have a lot of states that used to be solid Republican states, Georgia, North Carolina, Virginia. Those are now, at the very least, purple states. So you've had a transformation on both sides. Polo collar um, is now Democrat. So Donald Trump is capitalizing on it. He's saying, "I'm with you, workers. I'm not with management. I'm with the workers." And that doesn't mean he supports the specific demands which would break the U.S. auto industry, but he is emphasizing that he is part of a new kind of party. And I would say almost everybody on the stage last night would is trying to win that base and has to appeal to them.
And some of those people on that stage last night directly called out Donald Trump, especially because he was absent. One of the first things Governor Ron DeSantis said is Donald Trump is missing in action. Chris Christie had a moment that some could call cringy when he looked directly in the camera. Donald Trump, I'm delivering a message to you. We're going to call you Donald Duck, not Donald Trump. Do you think that's a smart strategy to go after the top contender who is so far ahead in the polls? Or do you think that they should have spent more time attacking Joe Biden and his policies?
Well, I think it differs for different candidates. Chris Christie is a one-trick pony in this race, right? His trick is I'm going after Donald Trump, and I think he's running for attorney general or something like that if he decides not to run for Menendez's seat in New Jersey. He's unpopular, I should say, in New Jersey. He won these big elections, but he's not popular there now, and so it's unclear if he would want to do that. Bob Menendez and I are in negotiations right now about the gold bars. I would like to have some of those gold bars. One of the key things about taking bribes, allegedly, is don't put it in your refrigerator, as the congressman from Louisiana did. Don't put it in gold bars. Don't get a new Mercedes. Anyway, so that's what he did. I think the other candidates had to make a little bit of an argument about Trump, but frankly, they have to get past each other. So it's a little bit like in bowling, the 7-10 split. You have to hit, you sort of can't get them both. You have to decide, am I going after the 7-pin or the 10-pin? Because it's almost impossible to get them both. So you try to say, I'm different from Trump. But frankly, the question is how? They all are invoking Trump's policies. They're going to build the wall. They're going to do all of these things. But the main thing is they have to say, pick me, not Nikki or Vivek or Doug Burgum. And that's their first and most important task.